Well, hello, friends. I'm Shannon Keebler with Empower Consulting, and let's dive into how to use the notes and interactive features between student and teacher in the student activity book using Think Central, the 2018 copyright. This will coincide with HMH's Math Expressions curriculum. We're going to start here in the student dashboard. So I've logged in as a student, just a practice student here, and you can see that this would be exactly what a student would see. So to access my student activity book and to see the note features, I'm going to click on my library. And when I click on my library, I now will see everything that I have access to. I want you to pay particular attention to the fact that I have my notebook down here, and then I have my student activity book here. Now, all of these other features are great for us to explore, but in this video, we're just going to talk about my student activity book and my notebook. When I click on my student activity book, what I'm wanting students to do is I'm wanting students to go in and do their work in their workbook, so I don't have to assign separate pieces of paper. And this would definitely be before maybe I would do a personal math trainer assignment or something in the interim. Or in replace of, I could. So I'm here in Unit 1, Lesson 4, and let's just say I want to take some notes. I tell my students that I want them to read what it says up here and kind of make some notes. So I might highlight a special case as both fractions are close to 1/2. And if I highlighted it, I can do an add a note. And so for add a note, I'm going to just say, would we call these, let's type in there we go, would we call these benchmarks? Or maybe I have to make another note, whatever it is that you want kids to say or to do is what you would put here. Okay, so now when I have my notes there, I'm going to click my notebook, which is at the bottom here, because I need it to save to my notebook, and I want my teacher to also be able to see this. So I can add a tag here if I wanted to and have it linked like fractions, or if I want to sort my notebook, which is always a good idea to start teaching our students how they might be organized within their workbook here. I'm going to push save, and that's pretty important because I don't want those notes to go away. And now if you notice on my workbook page, any place that has that little blue circle, I'm circling it on my screen here, that's to indicate I have a note that is set up here. I also have down here this little part that has a picture of a computer. And when I click that means any of these problems I now can answer digitally. So I'm going to click the computer, and you can see this pops up here, and now I have to compare 7/8 and 8/9. So maybe I'm struggling, like I don't really know how to compare 7/8 and 8/9, or you just want your students to really get better at using some fraction tools or whatnot. You're going to click this tool button over here. And when you click that tool button, you're going to get access to some better features. Now, I'm using my mouse, so my drawing tool won't be all that great. If you had a touchpad, it would probably be a bit better. So I can, of course, draw. I can maybe draw my number line, and I could draw my fractions there. Or this stamp feature up here, I could also use my fraction strips. And I can use my fraction strips now, and I could make, I'm not actually remembering what that problem was, but let's just say it's 3/8 and it's 4/9. And so, those are 4, I don't have 4/9, so of course I'd have to do something else. Let's just do 6 here. Okay, whatever it might have been, I could use my fraction strips if there is what I need here. If not, then I would just have to use a different tool or do a number line, whatever strategy you want kids to use. So I'm going to close that, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to save it to my Canvas cloud, because I want my teacher to be able to see my work when she clicks on my answer. I can also choose to upload it here, export it to someplace, or I could print it. And I want you to notice my print option would let me print it to Google Drive. So if you have Google Classroom set up, you could have them export their work, whatever work they show you on this screen, they could save it to Google Drive, and then they could upload it to Google Classroom, turn it in, however it is you're doing that. They could also put it into Seesaw and do some explanations, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that for now. And I'm going to exit out of this particular problem. I've already saved my work. And now I could go through and I could enter any answers in here, right? I could go to the next one, and I'm just going to make up answers. I'm not even reading the questions here. But for each one of these then, I might do some more work. You might say, I really do want you, my friends, to do a number line, okay, and to show where these fractions show up on the one number line, or you can make two. Notice here there is a number line, so I could have them pre-make it for me and label it and show their work in this way. So I'm now going to save it to the cloud. I'm going to close out these particular problems. And then I'm going to log out now. Actually, before we log out, let's close out of the student activity book. And I'm going to now go to my notebook as a child, as a student here. And I can see that in my notebook, I can see all of my notes. So you can see anywhere the highlighter is where the note was made, and you can see anywhere with the green stamp here that would be a question that I answered, and I have answers waiting. I can see on the left-hand side my teacher comments. So my teacher hasn't commented on any of my work yet, but I could click on it there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and we're going to log out as a student right now, and we're going to log in as a teacher. So now I'm in the teacher dashboard here. I'm logged in as a teacher. Notice I'm in the Math Expressions 2018, which I'm circling on the right. It's important that you're in the correct copyright, especially if you have access to multiple copyrights or to other HMH products. So you can now go to your grade. So I was in grade 5. And I'm going to go to a couple of places. I could either go to the student activity book, which is right here, and I'll go in that way in just a moment. But before I do that, I'm going to scroll all the way to the right. There's a little arrow that takes me beyond what I can see with the icons, and I see my notebook. And I'm going to click my notebook because I know that that's where those notes were saved. I can make my own notes in my teacher's guide and in my student book, but I can also see my student notebooks. So my notebook happens to be empty, but in the upper right-hand corner, I can actually go to my student notebooks. And in my student notebooks, you're going to see that I have a class here, and then I have my students' names. So I can click on my student Practice Little, who was just in, and I can now see at a glance everything that student has attached for me. So notice that right here, I see the question. I'm going to click on that question. So they said 1/5 was less than 2/7. And now I'm just kind of curious, like, did they do any, work here? Like, how did that look? And so I'm going to click view in the ebook. And I could have typed a response right there and given them feedback on that response. Or I can see it in the ebook. And now I can go to their notes over here. And actually, that's my notes. I'm sorry, upper right-hand corner. I'm going to go to my classes. I can see that this is my class. I'm in the Practice Littles notebook. I want to make sure that's the right one. And then I'm going to go to my notes, and I specifically want to go to her question. So I'm going to go to my questions here, and I saw that it was today we were on page 13. And that's how they answered number 1. But I want to look in this toolbar up here with that writing tool and just see what work it was that they submitted for that. Oh, and so now I can use their work to see what I liked, if it defended the answer, if it didn't, so on and so forth. I'm going to close that box because now I want to give them a comma of great job using fraction tiles to defend, or whatever it is you would want them to say. And then you push save. And now it will show up in their notebook as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I can go to each one of these questions that they answered and make comments and see their writing in this way. So I'm going to come back up to my tab that says notebook. I'm not going to even log out yet. And with my notebook, I can also make notes here of great work, whatever I wanted to say. I'm going to save that. Right? And so now they're going to see on the left-hand side, all the notes for this child is here, and all the teacher comments are going to be here once they sync here. They'll have to refresh. Okay, so, and then you'll see my teacher comments. So I'm going to come back out and go to my dashboard. And when I go to my dashboard, I can also just go in. So that was how to see things kind of at a glance in my notebook. But if I wanted to see, if I know I'm asking students to submit defending their work and using iTools and whatnot, then I'll probably just go in during my student activity book. And with my student activity book, then this is my version of the student activity book as a teacher. But what I can see is in the upper right-hand corner, I can click on my classes, which is hidden just a little bit for you. But I can see up here as soon as it refreshes, it'll get there in just a minute. There it is. I'm going to click on my classes, click my name of my class, you would see all of your students here, whereas you can see I only have 2 practice students. Click on that little student's friend's name, and now I'm going to go to notes and see what kind of work they've done. So again, here are the notes that they've taken, and then their questions. I would have to do the drop-down menu to see their questions, and it's the same as what we just saw. I can see not only their work, I can see my notes that I have put in there as well. So let's go back out as a student now, and let's see what that looks like from the student view, that they can also see your notes. Now I'm back in the student dashboard. Let's go ahead and click on their student activity book again. Loading, and then I can go to my notes as a student. And as I go here, I can go to my questions, and I should be able to see that I have a note from my teacher. Let's see what they have seen, see the same type of work. So I can see all of my teacher notes as well, and then submit notes back and forth to him or her. Now let's explore just one more thing. What if I wanted to make an assignment for those pages for my students to actually complete? Like, I want them to know what they're supposed to do. I'm going to click from this screen. I'm going to click Assignments. And from this screen, I'm going to go ahead and say I want to add an activity for my students. And there's multiple ways to get here. I could have gone the same direction just from the home screen. So I'm going to go for search resources here, and I'm just going to write SAB, which stands for the Student Activity Book, because that's what I want to assign. And when I click that, I still have to do some filtering on the left-hand side. So I don't see my grade. I'm going to choose more. I now see that I have grade 5. So I'm going to go ahead and choose grade 5. And then I'm going to click on the left-hand side, Assignable, because I only want to see stuff that I can actually assign to them. So now I can see all of the different units and lessons. And so if I show additional features, I can even sort it by the assessment, core instruction, additional resources like activity book pages, or activity cards, and so on and so forth. You're just going to see all the lesson level, unit level. That's where quizzes and whatnot would go. So I can do even more filtering. But if I want to come here and let's just say I want to assign, we'll just go next door here. The unit 1, lesson 5, fractions greater than 1. I want that specific lesson to be assigned. I'm going to go ahead and click Assign to them. And that will take me to that generic screen that we make all assignments through. So I think it was 1.5. We'll just name it whatever you want to name it. The activity's here, so you can preview it if you're not sure you chose the right one. I'm going to select my class, which mine is practice. I have to select the subject. It does make me do that in order for me to save the assignment. My students show up on the left. So if they're on the left, they're in your class. If they're on the right, they're now in the assignment. So I only have 2 students and they're now in this assignment. I can change my available date and my due date so that students don't see anything. If, for example, I'm being ahead of the game and I don't want students to see anything until next week, I could change the available date, and then I want to make sure my due date gives them a little bit of grace, because once that assignment has passed, it is now done. I'm going to choose Save. Yes, I want to make the assignment. And remember, it was called 1.5. So I can see it here on my screen, all of my different assignments. There it is down at the bottom here. And I'm going to log out now because I specifically want to see what it looks like for the student. Now I'm back in as a student, and I'm going to go to my things to do list now because I know that my teacher has made some assignments for me. And you can see my teacher has made me personal math trainer assignments, and she's made me this 1.3 and this 1.5. So I'm going to go ahead and click on 1.5, which is due today, let's just say. And here it is listed. I'm going to click that. And now it's going to bring up that particular page in my workbook. Now, nothing really says that I have to finish this other than when I go back after I've done my work, I will click done on that assignment so that it's marked done on my teacher's look as well. But this would tell them what pages to do. So let's just say you knew that it was due on Wednesday. You would go in as a teacher to the student activity book and look up who all has completed it and look at their answers. So now here I am again in their student book as a student. And remember, I can highlight something and I can make a note about it. Oh, we'll highlight it again and add a note about this particular part. And make my note here, or I could click these little computer screens and I know that I can answer those questions down here and answer them, and then also of course use my iTools to defend my thinking and to do some more work. Both of those would be worthwhile. So now we've gone through that entire process a couple of times, but now you also see what it looks like on the teacher end to create that assignment. And then when I'm finished as a student, I now have to go back and I have to click done. So I'm going to go back to my things to do because the personal math trainer will automatically go off the screen once it's finished, but not assignments like this, not activities. The only thing I can do is just push done. And notice it doesn't even notice that I didn't actually do the assignment. So a student could just push done and say they're finished. But of course, when you go in to view the assignment and you go to their workbook, it's going to not have anything done there. So all they would do is come back and then push done. Well, I hope this video helped. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe so more teachers like you can hear more messages like this. Don't forget to visit me online at www.empowerlearngrow.com.